You thought you knew the truth, but betrayal hides in the shadows. Welcome to Betrayal Stories. Subscribe and like so you never miss the next story.
Wife had 3 years affair with her college professor. She claimed she was brainwashed by him. In the heart of a quiet suburban neighborhood, a two-storied house stood as a symbol of familiarity and comfort to John and Mary, a loving couple who had shared their lives for nearly a decade. Mid-30s and steeped in warmth and harmony, their married life was a testament to the power of love and mutual respect. However, unnoticed by John, Mary started embarking on a journey to further her education by pursuing a master's degree at the local university. Initially met with enthusiasm, the demanding nature of her studies soon began to shift the rhythm of their lives. As the days turned into weeks, Mary found herself consumed by books and group projects, often working late into the night. The change in Mary's routine started to cause unease in John. He noticed her bedtime growing later, her smiles less common, and her laughter more sporadic. Her frequent forgetting of items at the office struck him as peculiar, yet he dismissed it as mere signs of the draining rigors of a new academic life. On a crisp autumn Saturday morning, John, sitting at the worn kitchen table, noticed that the shared household computer, still logged into Mary's account, showed an excessive number of emails from an unfamiliar name, Professor Williams. Curious, he clicked through the messages, finding them filled with expressions of support, encouragement, and humor. Unbeknownst to him, Professor Williams was indeed one of Mary's professors at the university. The discovery left him reeling as the pieces began to fall into place. He felt an ice-cold shiver run down his spine as his suspicions were confirmed. Their life, their love, and their happiness seemed to teeter on the edge of a precipice. Truth, like a gust of fall wind, was elusive, leaving no trace in its wake. As the storm gathered in their once peaceful home, John knew he would have to tread carefully. Exposing the truth could lead to a wave of personal revelations, some turbulent and treacherous. But as he looked out the cracked window at the clear sky, a glimmer of hope sparked within his heart. Sometimes, even in the darkest of hours, the light of truth can pierce through the gloom, guiding one forward on a path they must courageously navigate. The revelation shattered the tranquil facade of their lives, transforming the warm house into a space hung heavy with deception and betrayal. The wife's feeble explanations, as fragile as a spider's web, only fueled the storm brewing inside John. He could not understand how the woman he had built a life with, shared dreams and raised children with, could be capable of such treachery. He stormed out of the room and made the call he never thought he'd have to make, his heart pounding like a drum. The professor's wife answered, her voice trembling with shock and disbelief. He delivered the news like a dagger, tearing apart the tranquility of her evening. The ensuing silence was densely charged with the weight of his betrayal. In the days that followed, the once united family disintegrated into shattered fragments, each grappling with the shattering truths. The teenage children, blindsided by the revelation, lashed out in anger and confusion. Mary wallowed in guilt and regret. Yet amid the turmoil, the light of truth continued to illuminate John's path, beckoning him forward to confront the truth and forge a new beginning. The storm was far from over, but he knew he had to face it head-on, fueled by the hope that the other side could offer a brighter future. In the darkest of hours, he would find the strength to persevere and reclaim his fractured life. Reality slowly sunk in, leaving him feeling like a man adrift in a storm-tossed sea. The words of his wife, the pleas for mercy, and the desperate attempts at redemption rang hollow in his ears. He questioned himself, wondering if he had failed as a husband or if he had been blind to the signs of infidelity. Yet one truth glimmered with indisputable clarity. The path to healing and rebuilding could only be forged through truth, forgiveness, and the courage to face the storm head-on. As he continued to navigate the choppy waters of his broken life, he found solace in the quiet support of friends, the comforting embrace of a therapist's advice, and the burning desire to reclaim his life from the ashes of his broken marriage. Despite the pain and anguish coursing through him, he nurtured a glimmer of hope that the storm was not the end, but a prelude to a brighter future.
Caught my wife having an affair with her boss. In the quiet tranquility of a crisp autumn evening, nestled within the quaint suburban neighborhood where 1,000 similar homes dotted the town's map, a solitary house stood apart from the rest. Its windows, softly glowing from the amber street lamp, cast a gentle light upon the troubled soul that resided within. The home belonged to John, an unassuming man of great bravery, who had shouldered the burden of his family's life with the resilience of a mountain. John had navigated the labyrinthine waters of life alongside his wife Jane, a partnership forged over years of shared laughter, sorrow, and the intricate dance of joint dreams. However, the foundations of their marriage, once steadfast, now groaned beneath the weight of unspoken words, jaded trust, and the cold, relentless hands of betrayal. In the days preceding, John mustered the courage to confront Jane, revealing the unthinkable. Her affair with her boss, the community, an amalgamation of support and empathy, had extended digital arms around him, offering words of comfort and encouragement. In the crucible of their joint strife, John found a sense of camaraderie, a fellowship that transcended the confines of internet anonymity. Yet as the story unfolded, Jane vanished into the mists of the psychiatric hospital, leaving John to pick up the shattered pieces of their fractured life. The once rosy dreams of a future, now stained with the grime of deception, lingered frustratingly out of reach. The days following Jane's release were colored in shades of desolation and anger. John hoped for some semblance of resolution, a sign that the storm was abating. Yet in the silence of the evening, that hope was swallowed by the cold, hollow echo of Jane's silence. The ghostly effects of her absence were palpable, the emptiness of her calls to check on their children, the silence of her not even asking about his well-being, all cast a shadow over the very air he breathed. The world's weight seemed to press down on John's shoulders, a crushing burden that threatened to suffocate the last vestiges of hope. He was left feeling hollowed out, a mere shell of his former self, the vibrant laughter and spontaneous joy replaced by a perpetual state of sullen resignation. Yet amid the turmoil, there was a spark, a flame of defiance that flickered within his heart. And so, in the solitude of his own mind, he picked up the phone and reached out to his attorney, asking him to set the wheels in motion. He yearned for nothing more than to reclaim the life he had worked tirelessly to build, to rise from the ashes like the mythical phoenix, battered but ever determined to soar once more. The clattering sounds of keys against the marble countertop echoed through the once house, signaling the beginning of a new journey, a journey more daunting than any he had ever faced, a path paved with unknown terrors and brighter horizons. But John was not one to back down, not a man who could be tamed by the machinations of the wicked and the heartless. He was a man who fought for what his was, a man who refused to be a victim to the cruel dance of injustice and deceit. With each step forward, he felt the embers of hope ignite anew, the flame burning brighter with each passing day as the weight of betrayal slowly receded to make way for a future yet unwritten. The sun was setting on an era, but within John, the age of darkness was receding and the dawn of new beginnings was breaking through the clouds. There was no turning back, and the road ahead was uncertain, but he was undeterred, prepared to reclaim his life and set a strong example for his children as the phoenix was ready to soar anew. Feeling a sense of urgency, he made it clear that their internal healing could come later. For now, honesty and mutual trust were essential. With clear intentions, John shared with his wife, I've decided to take my case to court, and I've already started the process. You have an extremely strong case, but the way I see it, you've been planning to hurt me during the divorce proceedings if not for your current predicament." He continued, "While I was there for you during your illness, holding your hand and caring for you when you couldn't walk, it seems that it wasn't enough. You've managed to conceal vital information from me, and I need to protect myself and my children. I'm offering a chance for marriage counseling, but for now I require space to heal. If you're truly serious about reconciling and proving that you're not intent on causing more harm, you'll find an apartment and we'll finalize the divorce in 60 days. As the quiet house settled into the evening, the children, oblivious to their father's anguish, continued their play. Their laughter was a welcome reminder of the brighter days ahead. John stacked the freshly cleaned laundry, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The papers Jane had ignored lay forgotten, tucked away in a corner, but the weight of their significance lingered heavy in the room. The dishes gleamed in the sunshine streaming through the window, a testament to his determination and resilience. He stirred a pot of simmering sauce, basking in the aroma that wafted through the air, a familiar comfort in these unfamiliar times. The meal was a small victory, a testament to his ability to maintain some semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos. The messages of support from strangers and friends alike lingered in his mind, fueling his resolve. He had been pushed, forced to confront the darkness within himself and confront the woman he had loved. But in doing so, he had found strength he never knew he possessed, a strength that would carry him through the trials that lay ahead. He reread the words he had penned earlier, a silent nod to himself, a reminder that it could be done. He had no idea how he would navigate the path before him, but he was ready to face it head-on. He was ready to be a father, a provider, and a lover worthy of the love and respect his children deserved. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the room, he took a deep breath, lifting his gaze to the future, to the promise of a new dawn. The phoenix, soaring anew, was just beginning its flight. Finding himself confronted with the devastating revelation that his most loved had betrayed him, John felt a knot in his chest. He understood that he must move forward, continue building his life on this new phase. He needed to be a father, a provider, and a lover worthy of the love and respect his children deserved. But he could not forget that he had not been truly loved. Only the need for what he provided existed. This realization came later. When he receives more information, he will share it here so that someone in the future might learn that even in the ruins, a bright end can be found. He leaves his post with parting advice that he received over the past 2 weeks. You are in love with a lie that she presented to obtain what she wanted. Promise of absolution for your infidelity, should you want to recall the love you once had, is only valid if it comes with complete honesty and acceptance of the consequences. Better to confront the venom today on your terms than to hide from it and let it slowly consume you throughout your life.
Discovered my wife's, now ex, affair the day she was admitted into hospital. Now years later, she can't accept my engagement to my fiancé. The day unfolded like a maelstrom of emotions, each moment more torrential than the last. As I drove home, having just returned from a grueling week-long business trip, my ex-sister-in-law's voice echoed in my ears, her apologies reverberating like a mournful dirge, repeated endlessly, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." It wasn't until I managed to somehow soothe her frayed nerves over the phone that she revealed the startling news. My wife was in the hospital, and I must make haste to return home. Her only morsel of information was that it was an assault, and then the line went dead. She would not answer when I tried to call again. A glimpse into our past. Our life together began in the twilight of our youth, around the age of 25. We met through a mutual friend at a backyard barbecue where our paths crossed. During our early attempts at intimacy, she suddenly began to weep, a sign I should have heeded as an omen but brushed aside at the time. It wasn't until the next day when she apologized and revealed that she had been triggered, having been reminded of a traumatic relationship from her past. As I rushed home, my thoughts spiraled, each question gnawing at my very being. My wife and I had been happily married, or so I thought. She had always been loving and supportive, her infidelity a bitter pill to swallow. In the days that followed, I would find myself haunted by a myriad of questions, seeking answers to the unfolding mystery as my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. The once vibrant world I inhabited now felt cold and desolate, the future we had envisioned together a distant memory, like a mirage in the desert. Each tick of the clock felt like an eternity, the agony drawn out day after day as I navigated the tumultuous seas of betrayal and heartache. Love, it seemed, was a cruel and capricious mistress, leaving me bereft. My heart, a field of thorns, raked by every tender memory we had shared together, each wound stinging with a sharp, biting pain. The love that had once felt unbeatable now seemed as fragile and ephemeral as the first petals of spring, withered and dying before they had even reached their zenith. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was a sliver of hope, a faint beacon guiding me through the darkness. Somewhere deep within me, I knew that I must find the strength to heal and move on. And so I took each step forward, tears streaming down my face, my heart heavy, but my spirit unbroken. In time, I would find solace, and I would rise from the ashes, forever changed but ready to face whatever life lay before me. For now, I pushed on, one foot in front of the other, as I navigated the labyrinth of heartache and deceit, searching for the light at the end of the tunnel. As the days turned into weeks, the subtle changes in her demeanor became more apparent. Her laughter, once bright and infectious, seemed to dim, her eyes void of their usual sparkle. Her phone, once hers to share, became an abstract barrier between us. Her conversations with it kept private. Despite my concerns, she continued to assure me that everything was fine, emphasizing that there was nothing to worry about. I could see the struggle in her eyes, a battle between truth and preservation, and it was tearing me apart. One evening, as we sat in the cozy living room that we had so lovingly furnished, I decided to plant the peach tree we had spoken about so long ago. I hoped that the act of nurturing new life together would help to mend the rift that seemed to be growing between us. As I digged the hole for the sapling, I couldn't help but feel a sense of desperate hope. I wished with all my heart that this symbol of new beginnings would ignite a spark in her, a reminder of the love we once shared, the love I still believed we could recover. With trembling hands, I planted the peach tree and watched as the soil settled around its roots. As I stood there, watching the tree that we had nurtured together, I prayed for healing, for understanding, and for the strength to face whatever trials lay ahead. In utter disbelief, I stared at the battered figure lying in the hospital bed, the realization slowly sinking in that this was indeed my wife. The sight of her, bruised and bloodied, was a wound that pierced my heart. The police officer's words echoed in my mind, "Your wife." I couldn't grasp it, couldn't comprehend how this could happen to her, to us. But the more I looked at her, the more I saw the truth in her eyes, the same truth she had always shown me. I reached out, my hand trembling as I took hers. She squeezed weakly, her eyes fluttering open. I could see the pain, the fear, and the confusion, but I also saw the love, the resilience, and the strength that had always been our foundation. "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm here, and I won't leave you. We'll get through this together." And so the journey of healing began, not just for her physical wounds, but for our shattered lives, our broken hearts. We navigated the labyrinth of recovery, our hands forever entwined, our spirits forever indomitable. For in the face of adversity, our love only grew stronger, a testament to the unyielding power of our bond.
Wife admitted to having an ongoing affair with her boss, who's married with 2 kids, after only being married to me for 4 months. In the heart of a bustling metropolis, Alex resided in a cozy apartment with his wife, Emily. They had been inseparable for 6 years, exchanging vows amidst the pandemic in 2021. Their union was a testament to their resilience and enduring bond. However, Emily's new job at a prominent law firm left Alex alone, and her long hours were spent with her beloved horse instead of him. Her demeanor changed, and she began casting doubts on Alex's successes. He experienced sleepless nights, fighting self-doubt and fearing he was losing Emily. The months that followed were dark and sorrowful, with Alex questioning his worth and grappling with self-doubt. He searched for answers, planning romantic evenings to reignite their spark, but Emily remained distant. The emotional blow was unbearable, and he wondered if he was responsible for her estrangement or if a dark force lurked about. The sunny skies wept tears of sorrow, mirroring the subdued atmosphere within the couple's shared home. Shadows danced on the battered walls, a testament to the relationship that had been strained to the breaking point. In the heat of the moment, the weight of the revelation crushed him. Emily confessed to an affair, admitting to the betrayal that had destroyed their trust. Despite the confession, his rage intensified, and he prepared to confront the manipulative boss. After finding the boss, Alex confronted him, leading to the man's swift distancing from Emily and protecting his family from the storm his greed and desperation had orchestrated. Emily wept and begged for another chance, but Alex remained firm. "You made your decision," he told her harshly. "I'm just completing your plan." Life regained its sweetness as Alex found a new job in California, living near his closest friends and meeting a woman whose understanding heart mended the crackier aspects of his soul. In the places where Emily had once left him feeling worthless, he now felt loved and appreciated. The echoes of her cruel words still stung occasionally, but he reminded himself that she was the mirror of his dim reflection, not the sun that he had always needed to see his true worth.
My wife of 16 years had an emotional affair and wanted my consent to take it further. In the heart of a bustling city, with a symphony of 1,000 sidewalks harmonized with the distant hum of city traffic and the tender lullaby of crickets, I stumbled upon a haven of solace, a peculiar subreddit that seemed to offer me the key to understanding and coping with the excruciating labyrinth of emotions I found myself ensnared in. Hidden behind a throwaway account, I delved into the depths of this digital refuge, seeking respite from the torrent of anguish that threatened to engulf me. I am a man of 44, a husband to a woman of 40, and a father to 2 vibrant, boisterous children who tread through the halls of elementary school, their laughter and exuberance reflecting the warmth that once echoed through our home. We have been bound by the sacred vows of matrimony for 16 years, and it is within those 16 years that we have forged a lifetime of memories, struggles, and dreams. But the serene, idyllic landscape of our life began to shift 2 months ago, on a night shrouded by the creeping twilight, when my wife pulled me aside, her voice heavy with the implications of the words she was about to speak. I can still recall the way her fingers trembled as they clutched my arm, her eyes brimming with a profound unease that I had never before witnessed. "My husband," she confessed, her voice quivering with a tremor that was at once palpable and unnerving. "I have been having an emotional affair with this man I've been spending time with." Her voice trailed off, as if the very words she had spoken were weighing upon her, as heavy as the chains of our own entangled lives. I could scarcely believe the severity of her declaration, but as I listened, I endeavored to remain open-minded, allowing the torrent of emotions that rose within me to remain at bay, at least for the moment. Indeed, my wife and I had spoken before of her polyamorous friends, acquaintances who frolicked on the fringes of our social circles, their unconventional lifestyles a far cry from the monogamous union we had cultivated. Yet this revelation seemed to signal a departure from the familiar terrain of our shared history, as if the boundaries we had placed around our relationships had begun to erode, dismantled by the insidious pentacles of a secret that had grown so twisted and tangled that it threatened to ensnare us both. "This man, do you know him, the one I've been spending time with?" she continued, her voice steady despite the storm that now raged within her. "Well, yesterday I confessed to him that I think I am having an emotional affair. And a month ago, he told me that he is polyamorous, which was in response to me telling him about two of my polyamorous friends. And yesterday, when I told him about my feelings, he said that he felt the same way, but we now need to pause and get your consent," she concluded. The impact of her words was as if a freight train had collided with the foundation of my life, shattering the delicate balance that had held us together and sending shockwaves through the very core of my being. My heart raced, the world around me seeming to blur as I tried to process the enormity of her confession, the enormity of the pain she had inflicted upon me. I alone had been left reeling, my every thought and feeling a whirlwind of confusion, betrayal, and devastation. I could not fathom how I had allowed this to happen, how I had failed to see the seeds of discord that had been sown and allowed to grow within our marriage. I could not understand how this man, this stranger, had wormed his way into the crevices of my wife's heart, usurped a place that once belonged to me, and transformed our carefully cultivated relationship into something unfamiliar, something twisted and dark. And as the days passed, the hurt began to fester, the pain compounding with each passing moment, until it seemed as if my entire world had been shattered. My dreams were plagued with visions of a life that could no longer be ours, of a future that had been traded for the fleeting thrill of an affair that had upended the delicate balance of our lives. Each day, as the sun set, casting an orange, melancholy hue over the horizon, I would cling to the hope that the pain would eventually subside, that I would eventually find the strength to rebuild the life I had once held so dear. But as I navigated the labyrinth of my own emotions, I found the walls closing in on me, each step a testament to the irrevocable damage that had been wrought upon my soul. The pristine, honeyed laughters of my children would fade into stark, haunting echoes, their once joyous voices a testament to the life we had once shared, the life that had been shattered by the cold, unyielding hands of betrayal. In the quiet, stifling embrace of the night, I would find myself battling the demons that had taken residence within me, demons that whispered of a life without love, a life without warmth, a future that seemed as vacuous and desolate as the darkened void that lay before me. And as the months passed, I could feel the thread of hope that once held me together begin to unravel, a single delicate strand weaving through the dark tapestry of my life. But within the depths of my despair, there was a spark, a flicker of hope that refused to be extinguished, a tiny fragile ember that burned with an intense, stubborn fire that refused to be quenched by the torrent of pain that threatened to drown it. And it was this ember, this small reminder of the love and light that had once illuminated the darkest corners of my heart, that sparked a fire within me, a fire that would eventually burn through the tangled webs of deceit and betrayal, leaving behind a life that I could reclaim, a life that I could restore. And so, I cling to the hope that one day I will be able to resurrect the love I once had for my wife, to mend the tattered remnants of the life we once shared, and to forge a new path, one that leads not to the desolation of the past, but to a brighter, more promising future. For it is this love, this stubborn, unwavering love, that will carry me through the darkest days and guide me towards embracing the proposal of exploring non-monogamy as a means to rejuvenate their relationship. I found myself delving into a sea of intrigue, eager to unearth the untrodden path that lay ahead. My wife's proposal, albeit timid, was a beacon of hope, a breath of fresh air in our stagnant communication. I was fully aware of the challenges that lay before us, knowing full well our previous struggles with discussions about anything potentially contentious. But this time, I felt a renewed sense of determination, a fervent belief that our bond was stronger than the obstacles that once broke our connection. I knew that maintaining emotional attachments was a concern for my wife, but I felt that with a cautious and thoughtful approach, we could navigate through this new territory, ensuring the sanctity of our marriage remained untouched. The key, I believed, was openness, patience, and a shared understanding that this journey was not about replacing what we once had, but about expanding our relationship, growing together in ways we had never thought possible before. With our hearts and minds open to the possibilities, we ventured forth into the unknown, driven by the unwavering love that continued to guide us through the darkest days, and pushing ever towards a brighter, more promising future. In the stillness of the morning, the weight of the night's thoughts weighed heavy on my chest. I sat upright, my heart still pounding, my mind racing with a whirlwind of emotions. The conversations, the possibilities, the uncertainties, they swirled in my head like leaves caught in a fitful wind. The prospect of non-monogamy, of sharing our love with another, was a foreign yet intriguing idea. It was a testament to the evolution of our relationship, a testament to the growth and openness we had cultivated together, a testament to the love that continued to guide us through the darkest days. But the doubts, the fears, the unknowns, they crept in like shadows in the night, casting a pall over my thoughts. I remembered her exhaustion, her struggles with work, parenting, life. I remembered her confessions, her needs, her desires. I remembered the hope I had harbored, the possibilities I had envisioned. I remembered the trust we had built, the love that had carried us through the darkest days. And as the day broke, I turned to her, swinging my legs off the bed, my voice heavy with the weight of my thoughts. "I need more time," I said, my words measured, my tone sincere. "I need to process this, to understand it, to embrace it or reject it. I need to find peace with it." She looked at me, her eyes full of understanding, her heart full of love. "Take all the time you need," she said, her voice gentle, her touch comforting. "I'm here for you, always." And so we continued our journey, navigating the uncharted waters of our relationship, guided by the unwavering love that continued to bind us, pushing ever towards a brighter, more promising future. In the ensuing days, the turmoil within me seemed to spiral into a labyrinth of confused emotions. The realization that my marriage was more fractured than I had initially admitted to myself was a heavy burden to bear. I found myself progressing through the stages of grief, each one a stab to the heart,
leaving me gasping for air. A stark reality unfolded before me like a tangled web, and I was struggling to untangle the threads. One day, my wife observed my distress. A compassionate look in her eyes, she alluded to my apparent emotional turmoil, comparing it to the stages of grief. Intrigued and bewildered, I pondered aloud, what am I grieving? The question hung heavy in the air between us, a riddle I was desperate to solve. As the days passed, we found ourselves seeking the guidance of marriage therapists. Oblivious to the irony, my wife chose one who specialized in both marriage counseling and open relationships. The prospect of openness in our marriage was doused, however, as our first session made it clear that our relationship required more attention than mere discussions of opening it could ever provide. Yet another issue arose.
I felt that while I could talk about this with my wife, our therapist, and her friends, I had no one else to confide in. My situation was shrouded in secrecy, and so I asked if I could reach out to a longtime friend for his counsel. My wife, ever understanding, agreed, but stipulated that I could only discuss the matter with him. Upon confiding in my friend, he did not mince words. He pointed out what I had been too blind to see, that she had been betraying me, seeking her own pleasure at my expense, and exhibiting an unbridled self-centeredness. The revelation hit me like a ton of bricks, and I felt a chasm open up between us, seemingly unbridgeable. Simultaneously, I discovered she had been seeing her affair partner several times a week. They socialized, ate together, and she would even visit his home at night, claiming they were just friends. After spilling my heart out to my friend, I knew I couldn't live in denial any longer. The reality was unbearable, and I needed more time, more clarity, and more strength to face it. I knew that although it was hard, I had to leave this shackle of misery behind and chart a new course for myself, one where I could breathe freely again. After making my firm decision, I found myself preparing for the upcoming encounter. 6 weeks had passed since the revelation that left me in a state of emotional turmoil. I sought solace in therapy, support from my trusted friend, and battled through sleepless nights and a dwindling appetite. As our previous exchanges grew increasingly heated, we tried to seek some sort of common ground through occasional and perhaps futile dates, hoping they would bring us closer together, yet the gulf between us seemed insurmountable. My wife and I continued our stalemate, trying to navigate the treacherous waters of our relationship as we underwent therapy. The guest bedroom became her sanctuary, a stark reminder of the emotional chasm that divided us. I, too, sought the comfort of professionals, knowing I needed help to untangle the web of lies that ensnared me. Despite her insistence that maintaining contact with AF was her right, I refused to be swayed. I determined to seek the truth, and my meeting with him was the next step on that journey. My objectives were threefold. First, to verify the veracity of my wife's claims that this whole affair was happening. Second, to gain understanding of the dynamics of their relationship, since she was my only source of information. And finally, to clarify my intentions and set boundaries, demanding that I no longer be kept in the dark. With these goals in mind, I took the risk and reached out to him, arranging an in-person meeting, insisting he meet me without her. In the wake of this momentous confrontation, I found myself standing at the threshold of a new reality. The air was heavy with unspoken words, and the echoes of our heated exchange still reverberated within the quiet confines of the deserted cafe. Yet there was a silence that hung between us, an ether filled with the palpable weight of our impending division. My wife, humiliated and bitter, remained silent as we walked hand in hand towards home. The customary warmth in her touch was absent, replaced now by a coldness that mirrored the icy stare she cast upon me. I could feel the cracks within our relationship widening, the once solid foundation we had built together now threatened by the gales of our differences. Yet, as I lay awake that night, the words of my in-laws resonated within me. Give her time and space. Remove myself from her day-to-day as much as possible. In a strange irony, the very people who had helped nurture and foster our union were now advocating for its demise. But in their wisdom, they knew that sometimes love means letting go, even when it hurts. So I made a decision. I would step back, not out of weakness, but out of respect for the process. The days that followed were difficult. I missed the comfort of my wife's presence, the warmth of her embrace, the laughter that used to echo through our home. But I knew that to move forward, I had to let go. Slowly, the tumultuous sea of emotions began to calm. The storm of confusion, anger, and despair that had engulfed my heart dissipated, leaving behind a sense of tranquility. I was no longer the man who had confronted his friend and demanded answers, but the man who was finding the strength to seek closure. The days stretched into weeks, the weeks into months. The divorce was finalized, and slowly I began to heal. My wife and I, though estranged, remained civil for the sake of our daughter. I moved on, finding solace in the familiar arms of old friends, the comforting music of a piano, and the promise of a new beginning. Yet the memory of that fateful day lingered, a poignant reminder of the choices I made and the price I had to pay. And as I stood on the precipice of a new chapter in my life, I could not help but reflect upon the power of one's choices, the unpredictable consequences they bring, and the strength it takes to navigate the uncharted waters of the human heart. As the days rolled by, the silence between us grew deafening, a harsh testament to the chasm that had etched itself deep within our marriage. My friend's words echoed in my mind. It's the best course of action to take if the marriage is to be saved. I found myself standing at the crossroads of my life, the memory of that fateful day still haunting me, a poignant reminder of the choices I made and the price I had to pay. The revelation of my wife's emotional affair, the resulting silence, and her subsequent outburst had left me feeling a mix of emotions I had never experienced before. There was a sense of relief, knowing I had taken the first step towards healing, but also a profound sense of loss, a gnawing emptiness that permeated every fiber of my being. I found solace in the routines of daily life, focusing on the mundane tasks that provided a semblance of stability amidst the chaos. But the emptiness remained, whispered in the silence of the night, a constant companion that refused to leave. The phone calls with my wife, once a daily ritual, had become sporadic and sterile. The sharing of photos and stories of my adventures had ceased, leaving me with a longing for connection that I could not shake off. But I held on, clinging to the hope that the silence, the distance, and the coldness could heal the rift that had formed. In the quiet moments, I dreamed of a new beginning, a new chapter in my life where the echoes of the past no longer lingered, where the uncharted waters of the human heart no longer felt so treacherous. I stood on the precipice of that new beginning, waiting for the storm to pass, waiting for the sun to break through the clouds. And as I looked towards the horizon, I could not help but reflect upon the power of my choices, the unpredictable consequences they bring, and the strength it takes to navigate the uncharted waters of the human heart. As I continued to stand on the precipice, the horizon slowly began to clear, the clouds parting to reveal the first rays of sunlight. I felt a renewed sense of hope, the storm receding, replaced by a clearer, brighter realm. But the dawning of a new day did not mean the end of introspection. The words of my own confession echoed in my mind, a testament to the choices I had made, the unforeseen consequences they had wrought, and the resilience it had taken to navigate the treacherous waters of the human heart. I was determined to seek counsel, to consult with a legal expert, to ensure that I could make the best possible decisions for my future. I knew that my well-being, physical and mental, was improving. My nights were free of the restless tossing and turning that had plagued me for so long. I found solace in the rhythmic, disciplined routine of regular exercise and balanced meals, seeking to fortify my body and mind for the challenges that lay ahead. My wife, the love of my life, remained in my thoughts. I coveted her presence, yearned for her touch, her voice, her laughter. Yet I comprehended that love was a two-way street, and it required more than simply one party to maintain. I was prepared to take her back, to extend the olive branch, but I knew it would not come easily. She would have to embark on a journey of self-discovery, to retrace the steps that led to our separation and to find the path back to our union. But if she chose not to return, if there were irreversible the fractures that we had endured, then I would have to let her go. I would have to embrace the reality of moving on, of a new chapter in my life. It would not be an easy transition, but I was resolved to face it head on.
to meet the challenges of the human heart with courage and fortitude. I finished my thoughts, feeling a measure of relief, as if the act of putting pen to paper had helped to clarify the murky waters of my heart. And so I extended the invitation, not just to those who knew me, but to all who might stumble upon my words, to comment, to question, to offer advice. For I knew that in sharing my story, I might also find solace, understanding, and empathy. I was open to whatever insights and wisdom the world might have to offer.
Thanks for watching. Don't miss more stories of betrayal and drama. Subscribe and stay tuned.